me, doesn't really convey much meaning. Hold on a sec. So that even though environmental result isn't very precise and literal, usually when they explain about the possessed result, it's all to do with the environment. It's all to do with the environment you find yourself in. So I guess that's why that term was settled on. So, yeah, so the whole building would be nothing to do with karma, and yet it's part of our environment, isn't it? When you talk about this being a beautiful environment, you're thinking about, it all looks kind of nice. There might be some more beautiful buildings in the world, but it's, it's all kind of, very agreeable. So that's the environment that we have. And you can see that, like once you've got one building that's nothing to do with karma, then none of the buildings are going to be anything to do with karma. One leaf falling, why would you say that because we talk about all of the leaves falling, well, that's karma, Well, if all of the leaves falling is karma, because that's part of our environment, then, why would you want to single out one leaf and say it's not? Because if you're going to single out one leaf, then there's no reason why you shouldn't say that the next leaf that falls is also nothing to do with karma. And the next leaf, and the next leaf. And that's how you end up, all the leaves falling. You've got no grounds for saying it's got anything to do with karma. If you're going to say that the leaves falling is karma, then each leaf falling has got to be the result of karma. So somebody was asking about, it says like this: good manners, thoughtfulness of others, and kindness are the visible fruit of good practice. By which I guess means, if you practice well, then that's the in some ways, that's how people will behave towards you, and that's also how you tend to a good practitioner. That's how their practice manifests in terms of being thoughtful towards others and being kind to others. So other than that, I can't think of really anything to say. Rinpoche did mention, this is where it actually is useful to get the precise sort of the list and description of which kind of environmental results or possessed results are the results of which of the 10 negative karmas, because a lot of the time things are going on in our environment and you just sort of, it doesn't really occur to you to think of it in terms of karma. Like the fact that we are living in a world which is, has been damaged and is very much polluted and so on. Well, I mean, how many of us kind of feel like blaming somebody like, I don't know, the multinationals and, you sort of, we complain about it, and that's how we tend to feel, isn't it? You don't sort of think, actually, although karma is not the only thing that's involved, we do tend not to think that that's actually, our karma. We created the karma to be born in this environment. That doesn't mean to say that, because we always, it's always like this with karma, isn't it? Karma is never a reason to just leave things as they are. It doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't try to do something and try to reverse it. But, it's sort of, when you think, this is my karma, I create the karma to be born in this environment, in this world at this time, like the rest of us, it changes things, doesn't it? It does change things. You can see that actually, there's not really, even if you don't talk about karma, there's not really one person or one group that you can point the finger of blame at. Anyway, that's like environmental issues. We're all kind of responsible, aren't we? I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable the amount of stuff you have to throw away. Plastic bottles and plastic containers, and it's quite scary, really. And you kind of feel like you can't do anything about it, but anyway, we're all part of it, aren't we? So then, also, since I think it'll only take a few minutes, then we can do a little bit more. meditation and practice of this mindfulness. Somebody was asking about, there's 3 points. There's the idea that the prasangika view, that it's only when you realize that it's only by realizing the prasangika view that you can achieve liberation or enlightenment. You can't achieve it through any other, like the Svatantrika view, Chittamatra view, Vaibhashika, Sautantrika view. You can't achieve liberation and enlightenment with those views. So that's an idea. I'm not saying that's true or not true, but anyway, that's one idea. Second idea is that Tantra is the quickest way to achieve enlightenment, and maybe actually also the only way. And then the third idea is the view on which Tantra is grounded is the Chittamatra view. Okay, so that third one, well, they do say that you can reach a certain level of experience of in the tantric practice without having realized emptiness and just relying upon the Chittamatra view, the mind only view that says that there's nothing that exists outwardly and everything is the nature of the mind. The same substances, the same substance or imprint, that they all arise from the same, the substance which is an imprint on the mind. And it kind of makes sense because, although we talk about 3 principal aspects of the path being what you need to train your mind in order to, as a preliminary to taking an initiation, you don't actually have to have that realization, just some kind of understanding of it. So, well, anyway, I don't know so much, but it seems like, taking an initiation, then going ahead with the generation state practices, seems like you could, you could do that on the basis of the Chittamatra view. Not the view that everything is empty of inherent existence, not the view that everything is empty of true existence, just the view that there's nothing existing outwardly. I personally, I can't see in principle why you wouldn't be able to do all that if you think about it, So this is just something to think about. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to do all that. And then there's no particular reason why you wouldn't be able to get some kind of stability with the generation stage practices, even though nothing is qualified by the emptiness, the prasangika emptiness, but still, you could get some very firm concentration on the mandala, and you could develop calm abiding, with the appearance of the mandala. And so I don't know in detail how that happens, but that's something to do with, that's one of the things that you're trying to do with the generation stage practice, getting the clear appearance and the divine pride, and then getting the stability. So, if you think about it, why wouldn't you be able to do that with the Chittamatra view? And then if you move on to the completion stage practices, like working with the moving the energies inside the channels, why wouldn't you be able to do that? Hindus do it. Why wouldn't we be able to do that with just the Chittamatra view? What you wouldn't be able to do is, when we talk about the completion stage, there are the 5 stages. So the isolation of speech, isolation of mind, clear light, illusory body, and the union. So I can't remember the first 2 very much, but with the isolation, the clear light. So there, it's not just a question of bringing the airs into the central channel, which you could even do as a non-Buddhist, and it's not even just a question of having all of the different consciousnesses dissolve and all of the different airs are dissolved into the central channel, so you get the appearance of the clear light. I'm not sure. I should have thought that you could do that, but you wouldn't be able to meditate on emptiness, would you? So as far as the completion stage is concerned, with the clear light, you've got to, it's defined in terms of realizing emptiness, emptiness of inherent existence. So you wouldn't be able to do that for sure. So there's all sorts of things you could be doing in terms of the tantric practices with just the Chitta Mantra view, but not with the. But there's a limit to how far you could get. So I don't know about the Tantra being the view on which Tantra is grounded is the Chitta Mantra view. Maybe there's this is getting at the idea that in Tantra you see everything as being a creation of the mind and not existing on some kind of gross level, and likewise also with the Chitta Mantra, and like that, because they do say Yogacara means the system of the yogic practice, because the Chitta Mantra view corresponds to the way that the yogi experiences things. Other than that, so in a sense, I'm not sure that idea is valid. Then about the other two, anyway, there's an interesting way of looking at this. What they say is, in terms of the four philosophical systems, you can achieve liberation with the Vaibhashika view, but you can't achieve liberation with just the Vaibhashika view. And likewise for Sautrantika, Chitta Mantra, Svatantrika. No. In other words, if you were to, somebody said, "What do I mean?" That was the question. In other words, if you, what it means is that like we have this idea that I've mentioned before. They're like stepping stones. You train in the view of the Vaibhashika, and that helps you to train in the view of the Sautrantika. That helps you to move on to the Chitta Mantra, and so on. If you were to focus uniquely, exclusively on Vaibhashika and not move on to the other views, just using the Vaibhashika view, you couldn't achieve liberation enlightenment. Because just using the Vaibhashika view, you wouldn't have the realization that you can have the realization of emptiness. Because there's no teaching there about the emptiness of inherent existence. That's something that's unique to the Prasangika school. So when it says, only the final, it's only by realizing the Prasangika view that you can achieve liberation and enlightenment. You can achieve liberation and enlightenment through all four philosophical systems, but with the Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and Chitta Mantra, you have to say you can't achieve liberation and enlightenment just with those views, without moving on to the other views. So we have this actually. I think I heard this idea from Khyentse Jampa Techok, and he also was saying, so for this, in the same way, can you achieve liberation and enlightenment as a Christian? Yes, just depending upon that sort of like practice and philosophical view. Well, of course, from their point of view, anyway, they're not going to talk about liberation and enlightenment. From our point of view, no, because they don't have the teaching of emptiness. So, and then the same thing applies to the four. The Sutra and Tantra. Through Sutra practices, can you achieve liberation and enlightenment? Yes. Just through Sutra practices? No. As far as the Sutra presentation is concerned, the answer would be yes. As far as the Tantric system, which we take as being like the final, having the final say, just like we always say that it's the Prasangikas that have the final say when it comes to the nature of reality. As far as Tantra is concerned, just practicing sutra, just practicing bodhicitta and six perfections and so on, isn't going to be enough. Eventually, you've got to have you've got to have a tantric initiation, and then within the tantric schools, the Maha Anuttara Yoga Tantra is going to say you've got to have a Maha Anuttara Yoga initiation and practice the generation stage and completion stage, because then you have the possibility of using the most subtle mind that human beings, sentient beings, are capable of accessing, which is the clear light mind, and using that to meditate on emptiness. And that way, the most subtle mind is the one that eliminates the most subtle obscurations. The other tantric classes aren't able to get to such a subtle mind, and certainly in the the sutra teachings, you don't there's no they talk about the most subtle object of negation and the most subtle realization of emptiness, which is the emptiness of inherent existence, but they don't talk about using a very subtle mind. And so, as far as the highest yoga tantra is concerned, to get rid of the final, most subtle obscurations, you've got to use the most subtle mind, which is the clear light mind. So there, again then, so as far as Tantra, the tantric systems are concerned, you can achieve enlightenment through practicing the perfections, but not just through practicing the perfections. Eventually you got to move on, just like they say Buddha Shakyamuni did. So he practiced for 3 countless great eons without, and that implies without practicing Tantra, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken 3 countless great eons. At the end, he had to have the word initiation, and through depending upon the word initiation, he was able to remove the most subtle obscurations, which you couldn't do just using the sutra, explanations. So yes, as far as Tantra is concerned, you can achieve enlightenment and liberation enlightenment with the sutra path, but not just with that. And as far as the highest yoga tantra teachings are concerned, you can achieve enlightenment using the other, what do they call them, classes of tantra practice, tantra practices, tantric sadhanas and so on from the lower classes, but not just using that. You've got to come to the Maha Anuttara Yoga practices eventually. And what's not here, which is one which keeps coming up, anyway, it came up recently, back in back in Soquel, back in Santa Cruz, was sutra teachings concerned. 3 countless great eons is like the quick way. There are many that take like 40. They talk about taking 40 countless great eons. It's not like, as far as the sutra teachings are concerned, everybody that achieves enlightenment takes 3 countless great eons. Buddha Shakyamuni only took 3 countless great eons because of being, because of the strength of his compassion and bodhicitta. Others take 40 and maybe more. Got a feeling I know. Yeah.
Hang on.
This is the last question, by the way. We'll have some finish off with some meditation.
Okay. Rinpoche said a couple of days ago, and you just referred to this, he said that if you don't practice highest yoga tantra, it takes 3 countless eons to achieve Dharmakaya and Rupakaya.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's speaking from the Prasangika point of view, so that seems to imply that you can reach enlightenment using the other tantras.
Actually, well, think about what I just said about Buddha Shakyamuni. He achieved enlightenment without practicing highest yoga tantra, just practicing sutra until he got to the end. At the very end, he had to have the tantric practice. So it took 3 countless great eons because during that period he wasn't practicing tantra.
Okay. So at the end...
Then at the very end he had to have what really kind of like did it was the highest yoga tantra initiation.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Should we have some more meditation? I think I intuited a yes there. To answer my own question, actually it was Karuna's. But it's a common question. How could you go for 3 countless great eons without coming across a Vajra master that could give you initiation and then so you could achieve enlightenment quickly? No idea. Because, these bodhisattvas, they... even on the first ground, I mean, is it like 1,000 emanations and so on, and then it gets more and more and more, and you'd think that all of like you're kind of buzzing around these pure lands here, there, and ever. You think you'd meet somebody. I mean, if people go to India and they hear about Kopan, you'd think that you'd go to one of these pure lands and somebody would be saying, well, you go over here. They're teaching tantra over there. You don't need to take 3 countless great eons. It's just difficult to imagine that you wouldn't, or if you did, that you wouldn't hear, or if you did hear, that you wouldn't. I mean, like, we're talking about somebody with bodhicitta who cares more for others than themselves and has, like this intense compassion. You wouldn't think that somebody could say, well, actually, you could do it, just in a few years. And they're going to say, no, I think I'm okay with this path. This is just right for me. You wouldn't think, would you? You'd think they would have a go kind of thing. And why wouldn't they be able to go there if they wanted to? Even if it's like universes away. They talk about the bodhisattvas just, like in one day, just, traveling to multiple pure lands and taking these teachings. And it's very difficult to fathom that. Very difficult. Do you want to repeat that, please?
I was just thinking, there's 3 types of bodhicitta, right? There's the ferry boatman where you go with everyone together to enlightenment, and the shepherd who has everyone go first, and then the king-like one. I think it's the king-like one.
Yeah.
So maybe he was focusing on the shepherd-like bodhicitta until he realized that wasn't going to work.
Well, he shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have got hung up on concepts. I mean, just forget about this shepherd thing. Just do the king one, Send out the message. Yeah, I don't know if to my mind that doesn't seem to really explain it. But there's got to be. There might well be some really simple answer, but I just can't think of one myself, and I've never heard why. Oh yeah. Whose karma? Like the bodhisattva's karma?
Yeah, could that be something to do with the karma?
So could the fact of taking so long before getting around to practice tantra be because of the practitioner's karma? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Is the 3 countless great eons bodhisattva an Arya bodhisattva, or just a bodhisattva?
2 of the usually the way they explain it is the first countless great eon, you're an ordinary bodhisattva in the sense of not having a direct realization of emptiness. Then the last 2, you're an Arya bodhisattva. Yeah. Yeah, so, like trillions and trillions upon trillions of years, you're on that path. Yeah, anyway. Who knows? There was somebody else?
It's me.
Oh yeah. Sorry?
The verse, phenomena come from the mind.
Phenomena come from the mind. Oh yes. Chitta mantra.
So I don't think that verse is referring to mental imputation or labeling, but it could. But I guess that verse is probably accepted by other Buddhist schools who don't talk about imputation.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I guess it could be.
Because like the way it comes from karma, like how is it coming from karma? We would say it's coming from imputation, right?
The thing is that if you just take that line in isolation, it looks like it could be, it could be chitta mantra, it could be prasangika, mere imputation kind of thing. But in that context, where it immediately goes into the suffering that follows from speaking with a bad motivation, and the happiness follows from speaking with a good motivation, it kind of looks like it's the emphasis is on karma, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably is emphasizing karma, but then the question is, then how does the karma work? And maybe kind of loops around to the first line. So, I mean,
the way karma works is that actually everything is a product of the mind, in the sense of being merely imputed by the mind, but appears not to be, and then we grasp that, and then we create the karma kind of thing. It could be.
But like even in the moment, like I was walking back the other night with somebody, and we both thought it was such a lovely evening, and I was saying it's because it's so warm.
You were talking.
And yes. And my friend was saying, oh, she thought it was a lovely evening too because it was so cool.
Yeah. Oh, so for her it was cool, and for you it was warm.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens. Yeah.
So the lovely evening was our environmental karmic result, but also it didn't have any inherent temperature.
Well, I mean, the temperature is what it was, and you were experiencing it differently, weren't you? I mean, that happens quite commonly, doesn't it? You're somebody who's just come over from, I don't know, somewhere tropical, somebody who's just come from somewhere really cold. They're in the same place. One of them is experiencing it as cold, one is experiencing it as hot. It's the same environment. And also, I mean, yeah, well, that's actually quite interesting, is because, what would be, like in connection with this, like we could talk about this being a beautiful environment, a very nice environment, but somebody could come along and say that they experience it as very unpleasant. And that also does happen, like we talk about the world being the product of the common karma of everybody in it. Well, is that good karma or bad karma? Because some people are in what we would, commonly call very hellish, environments at the moment. Their lives are like hellish, aren't they? So that's actually quite odd, isn't it? So it's difficult to point out when we say the world is the result of the karma of the sentient beings that are inhabiting it. Well, in which part of the world? How much of the world is the common karma, as a result of the common karma? If you've got some people that are experiencing something quite nasty, and others who are experiencing quite nice environments. Maybe just the way that the world formed. I don't know. Yes? Really last question, and then at least we'll finish up with 5 minutes of...
So I was just thinking about, I've heard about the concept of neutral karma.
Neutral karma, yes.
Yeah, so I was wondering if that's the case, or is every karma experience have to be either positive or negative, because when I was walking out there, I did have some pleasant sensations, but there were times that were just neutral.
There's also neutral karma.
So that is the case.
I've heard His Holiness saying that probably most of the karma that we create when we're doing our sadhanas is neutral karma. Okay, thank you. Yes, so we'll finish off with a few moments of sitting meditation, being mindful of karma, thinking of that verse from the Dhammapada, that phenomena are all produced from the mind. The mind is principle. If with a bad attitude or motivation one speaks, then suffering follows, like a cart following an ox. If with a good motivation or good attitude one speaks, then happiness will follow, like a shadow following the body. And using that to understand how everything that's appearing to us, everything around us, every experience is the result of karma. it's good to see if you can find something that isn't that isn't the result of karma. In other words, that you feel isn't. You can't think how that could possibly be a result of karma. Could be just like your meditation cushion. I mean, why is that the result of karma? Or is it? Is the teaching even supposed to be that my meditation cushion is the result of karma? Due to this virtue, and also due to the virtue of the past, present, future of myself and others, may the precious awakening mind be born where it has not yet been born. Where it has been born, may it never decline and continually develop.